Hello, my name is Taylor Darcy with Darcy Law. I am a small business slash startup, work with entrepreneurs, attorney. I help I help you create a strong legal foundation so that you can succeed. Today we're going to talk about, in previous videos we've talked about LLCs, sole proprietors, DBAs, registered agents, lots of crazy stuff. Anyway, today we're going to talk about when to use a corporation. Now, the need for a corporation has greatly reduced since LLCs have become kind of the norm, right? More companies are being formed as LLCs than ever before. In fact, unless there is a really good reason, and I'll talk about those reasons in just a second, LLC is almost always the way to go. Almost always, not always, but a lot of the time, like probably 80 to 90%. First is if you are going to be, excuse me, uh, if you are required to by law. So what I mean by that is if in some instances, like a professional, like a doctor, a lawyer, they are required by law to have a corporation. So if you see PC, that's the correct term, professional corporation. If you see that next to somebody's letters of a name of a business, then that's what that means. It's a professional corporation. And simply put, a professional corporation, we're not going to go too much into professional corporations, but I just want you to be aware of it. A professional corporation is a company or a corporation that can only have professionals as shareholders. So in the case of an attorney, attorneys are not allowed to form, at least in California. In other states, this is different. You have to keep that in mind. Everything that I'm telling you is based on California law, not anywhere else. That's got to be very clear, but I digress. So in California, a professional like a lawyer or a doctor has to start a professional corporation. Now, and only owners or only the only owners can be members of that profession, such as a lawyer or a doctor. So all doctors that are shareholders in a professional corporation, they have to be, or at least healthcare providers, the way if I understand it. Attorneys, it's the same way. It has to be an attorney who is sharing in the profits and losses of the company, and that's done through the professional corporation. Now, those are when you absolutely have to. Now, optionally, the key to know when to form a corporation is what are your plans with it? What are your goals? That's also true for like construction in California. There are different requirements for construction owners than for LLCs. And so we'll talk about that in a minute, or that's for a different episode. But so when should you form it? From a time perspective, when you're getting started, as I mentioned in the LLC video, and you're going to want to check that one out too. There is a minimum tax in California of $800, but you don't get the liability protection until you form the entity. You can't go back in time and fix something. So if you screw up, if something happens and you forgot to incorporate or you forgot to get an LLC and you're sued, then you're going to be sued in your individual capacity as a person. Okay. That's very important because the whole point of a business entity is to reduce your liability. Now, it won't eliminate your liability, but it will reduce your liability. So that's why that's important. So when you can afford to, it's not terribly expensive. A normal corporation is $100 in California. And then it's the $800. That's a franchise tax board fee. It's not a Secretary of State fee. Two different business entities, two different government entities that you have to do it. The other when is when you want to, right? If you're starting a business and you want to have shareholders, and you want to have people that can invest in the company. Now, I do have to say that you may be required to comply with what are securities laws, and I'm not touching securities laws right now, but just suffice it to say is that's important to know if you're going to work with people that are outside investors, angel investors, and stuff like that. Now, the other part is when you want to, but also where. There are certain instances where it makes sense to incorporate in California, and there are certain instances where it makes sense to incorporate in other states. Now, each situation is fact specific, so I would advise you, depending on what you'd talk to me about. So I can't tell you what you should choose, but don't think just because Delaware is where a lot of companies are incorporated, or Wyoming or Texas or Nevada. Those are all very popular places to be incorporated at. But the problem is that that doesn't always, you don't always need that, and it isn't always advisable. So that's when you should incorporate. If you have any questions or would like to talk to me, feel free to drop a comment. I'm more than happy to help you. I look forward to talking with you soon. All right. If you want to find me, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all those great places. Subscribe if you want more ways to help you with your business, and we'll talk soon.